Masters of the Universe Revelations was a controversy from the very beginning. From leaked scripts to online battles with showrunner, producer Kevin Smith, Smith would proclaim the show not to be more female-centric and a Tila-heavy show, but we found out otherwise with the release of Revelations Part 1. Before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bells. It really helps me in the algorithm. In this video, I will be giving a Motu Revelations Part 1 review and a Revelations Wave 2 toy review. I'm not going into great detail with Revelations Part 1 just because it's been picked apart so many times and so many people out there have done reviews on this show that it's there's not a lot more to be said about it. But I do want to give my opinion on the show, and that's what we're going to do here. And getting started, I will have to say the overall production of the show looks really good. The animation style is nice. I believe that style was used with, Castlevania, the anime they did on Netflix as well. The sound and music is pretty good. Just the overall production of the show looks really good, and the editing and the production value is really nice for it. So I do give that thumbs up. It does look good, and there's kind of a callback to at the very beginning of the show with the opening segment that is a very nice. I guess you could call it a really nice throwback to the original series. But where the show goes off the rails is the writing. The general dialogue is fine, but the script seems to use a lot of childish one-liner jokes. I guess the show in theory is geared for children, but we all know nostalgia junkies and adult fans are going to be the meat and potatoes of the audience, and these jokes are almost constant throughout the entire series. I think modern Hollywood is incapable of good writing these days. A good example of this would be the end of episode 1, the Tila speech, I guess people would call it now. That's what I call it. After He-Man has sacrificed himself to save Eternia, his secret is revealed to Tila and the King, who was also in the dark to the whole He-Man Adam secret. The Queen knew the secret, as well as Man-at-Arms, better known as Duncan, and Cringer, Battle Cat. When finding out the death of Adam, she becomes infuriated. When finding out the death of Adam, the King becomes infuriated and banishes Man-at-Arms and Tila, who has just been given the title Man-at-Arms at the beginning of the episode. Let's go back for just a second to the opening scene. And it is not a He-Man battle or something cool like that. You open up to, it's Tila at her Man-at-Arms pre-gender reveal party or something. And everybody's just giving her praise. It's, oh, Tila, you're the greatest ever. You're the best warrior ever. And all, it's all this kind of stuff like this. And if this was a Tila show, I can understand. But oh, Tila, you're the bestest ever. Basically stuff like that. So the end of the scene, we go back to the end scene. And it's, the end scene is her going into this SJW me rant about how she has been deceived and she has been lied to all these years. Just a complete temper tantrum. It's really extraordinary to behold. And that's basically how the episode 1 ends. Now, I'm not going to break down each episode, but I did have to talk about the content of the first episode with you guys, just so you could get an understanding of where the trajectory of the show is heading, which is girl power good, man bad, essentially. But I think the fans would have to still react poorly to the show, would still have reacted poorly to the show if they had made it Motu Adventures of Tila. But they pulled the bait and switch, and this was called out early by the fans the grift had to go on thanks to Kevin Smith and him basically getting in a war with, I believe it was Clownfish TV. Yeah, I think it's just called Clownfish TV, I believe, on YouTube. And YouTube in Clownfish was just simply reporting a story that would have been in. I think one of the news outlets had reported the story. It was basically just a leaked script from the show, and it was basically they were calling out, well, this is going to be a lot of Tila in this, and it's not going to be really a He-Man show. And they just reported on it, and Kevin Smith literally attacked Clownfish for these. So that's where the origin of all the attacks kind of come from, was from Clownfish between them and Kevin Smith. And this just proved to me that Kevin Smith had really fallen to the dark side. I think he was just brought on the show he was just brought on to be kind of a nerd, to bring attention to the nerd base or something. He's like this, like king of the nerds or something crazy like that. But all of Hollywood has pretty much fallen to this trope. Well, enough ranting for now. So what else happened for the rest of part 1? I guess we go on a quest to heaven and hell to reclaim the Power Sword fragment. And these fragments need to be reforged. Man-at-Arms doesn't get to come along on the quest. They just kind of cast him aside and say, oh, you need to go take care of you got to take care of the sorceress. And Roboto is replaced because Roboto is one of Man-at-Arms' inventions. So he gets replaced in Man-at-Arms' behalf to go along with the quest. So we just basically have a lot of man-bashing. Magic has been replaced by technology in this story, even though advanced technology would probably be perceived as magic. So that's some great writing for the writers on the show. Kevin Smith, we do know that he came on board after the project had already been underway for a while. I really don't know why they brought him on board, but I guess to give it more nerd cred, which we've discussed before. I guess that's why they did, but he nonetheless was a story editor by credit, so the dialogue man, the king of dialogue movies, he allowed such dribble on the screen. It sucks, I know, but this is Hollywood today. So, moving on, they venture to the land of the dead, or Subternia as they call it in the series, where Tila comes face to face with Scareglow. At this point, she has to face her own fear, essentially face herself, and to face He-Man. But at some point during that, the way the dialogue kind of played out to me, I felt like Tila was going to raise the sword of power at some point in this series. I felt like the dialogue between her and Scareglow kind of reflected this, and of course at this point in time I have not watched the part 2 yet, because I didn't want to influence part 1 in my part 1 review, so we'll move on here. You do get to learn of Orco'S origins. Orco is on the quest with the rest of the crew. You basically see him talking about his childhood and kind of blaming his parents for being a clumsy magician. He eventually will harness his magical skills to immediately be killed, a sacrifice to the show. Because in modern Hollywood, somebody has to die. Well, I guess 2 people have technically died at this point. That always annoys me with modern storytelling, especially with cartoons. It shows me the legacy of the show will be short-lived. Because as a kid, at least on TV, characters would not die most of the time. They would live on to fight another day, be the Scourge or be the heroes. Of course, we had the famous Optimus Prime death in the Transformers movie, but this was in the movie, and many children were extremely upset over this. I don't really remember being a kid and being real upset personally, but I guess I kind of just had an indifference about it. But some children went really off the rails with this, and I don't really know why they decided to do this. I mean, I know why they did it. It's just so they could push new toys and a whole new toy line, of course, but maybe that was a little foreshadowing of things to come in the world of children's cartoons and movies and such things like this. Gotta teach children about death. They gotta know about death at a young age, and amongst other things these days. But we move to Hyternia, or the Heaven Realm, and the quest comes to an end with the sword being reforged and He-Man once again being killed and the emergence of Skelegod. And that is where part 1 ends, and it's for me to pick up and watch part 2 so I can give you guys a review. So my overall impressions of the Revelations part 1 is pretty, well, I guess I'm unimpressed to say the least. And to be clear, from the statement I made earlier, if this had been marketed as a Tila show, people would have still complained, but I don't think the lasting backlash would have persisted. Honesty is always the best road, and attacking fans is not. But I will be reviewing part 2 soon. It's at this time I have not watched it. I was afraid it might influence my overall opinion for the show in part 1. So I will be checking that out here soon. So thanks for checking out my review for part 1, Masters of the Universe Revelations. And if you have any interest in the Revelations toy line, then stick around for a brief showcase of the Revelation Wave 2 toy line. So make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it, and I will talk to you guys later.